Hey, y'all know how we do. No time to waste. Hold up, wait. This thing is. I hate when it does this. So we got my man Jesse Lee Peterson. Let's see how much crap he has to talk about black people today, because that's all he do. He don't know nothing better than to talk crap about black people. But that's how you make his money. So you gotta like, however you make your money is how you make your money. Cool. All right, let's go.
Are you a Christian?
You know, I'm going to say I'm that and so much more. I am a student in the Nation of Islam where we teach from both Bible and Holy Quran.
So you belong to Louis Farrakhan?
Y'all want to know something interesting? Did you know? Of course, if you study biblical history, you know that it's all combined. And I'm going to say the side note too. I don't understand. We hate everything about slavery except Christianity. But did you know that both of the books, like the Quran, the papyri for the Quran and the papyri for the Christian text, were all found in ancient Egypt. They were found in Alexandria, Egypt. Look that up. It's crazy. Both of them. So, yeah. The Quran, like what believed happened was that the Quran was just things that the Bible said they didn't want.
Farrakhan folks.
Oh, you can say that.
How can you follow an evil, dirty man like Louis Farrakhan, who believe that Jews are the blood-sucking Jews, and that white people are the white devils, and that they were created by some black men who turned, because Louis Farrakhan has this false notion that black people were the first on the earth, and that somehow or another some black men turned evil. They went into a lab and created the blue-eyed devil. That's how we ended up in the blue-eyed devil. Louis Farrakhan also believed that he went up in a spaceship and spoke with dead Elijah Muhammad. You only get that kind of trip when you're on acid. How can you follow a man like that?
Well, you are Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. And again, I'm not sure where you were ordained or what seminary or cemetery you matriculated from, but you believe in Moses.
I ask you, you're not answering my question. How do you follow an evil man like Louis Farrakhan?
Well, I'm going to...
She is answering the question. And Louis Farrakhan's not evil. They have their beliefs. The Nation of Islam has some strange beliefs, definitely do, but they still were a powerful force for the black community, very powerful and very respected. And I respect Louis Farrakhan, definitely. The things he has to say. I think if people listen to Louis Farrakhan, they would hear him. But I know some people in the comment sections are going to show how they don't listen, and I can't wait to hear it.
To make a point here, first of all, he's not an evil man, and I'm bringing up some...
What's good about him?
I was bringing up some of the prophets.
What's good about Louis Farrakhan?
Everything that he's done for the black community. He's put more black people in college than any other group of people. He's moved more black people out of criminal environments. The Nation of Islam, I think it was Maryland, I think it was the area, where the Nation of Islam came into it and changed the entire area. Like crime completely dropped, where they got all those boys involved in the Nation of Islam. Louis Farrakhan has done so much for black people, donated so much to the black community, been on so many talk shows to alter our mindsets, created phone lines for you to connect with people in the community to help the community. Farrakhan is one of the most powerful, most thankful, and most grateful men that we've ever had in the black community. Just because Jewish people don't like him doesn't mean that he's a bad thing. And he never really said anything bad about Jewish people. He never really did. He was talking about specifically the bad Jews. But nobody respects that, and Jesse Lee Peterson, he'll say all that, but he won't talk about the white devil. Is what he calls him, the white devil. I don't know about the white devil. I won't say white devil, but he won't talk about white people and what they do bad. And I think that's interesting about Jesse Lee Peterson. He don't got me fooled though. I know he's just making money off of him.
What's good about Louis Farrakhan is that Minister Farrakhan for over 64 years has been standing on behalf of the most disrespected, oppressed, and murdered people on the planet. That's the black man and the black woman.
But only by other black people.
Indeed not. Indeed not.
Only by other black people have treated other black people worse than any white person could ever consider treating anyone.
I appreciate you letting me finish my point here. Are you aware, sir, that when Jesse Jackson ran for president of the United States, that it was white people that called the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan the Black Hitler, and it was only after they called him the Black Hitler that he began to address the fact that he was not at all like their murderer, Hitler. Are you aware of that? Do you know who was first called that?
I'm not aware of that, but I can tell you that when I first moved to Los Angeles, I believed it to the lot. Not when I was growing up in Alabama on the plantation under the Jim Crow laws, but when I moved to LA, I started listening to Jesse Jackson and NAACP, these black preachers who are not called by God but by their mama. And wicked Louis Farrakhan, I used to go to the forum to hear him speak when he was in town. And in that father state, I thought he was telling the truth too, because I had been separated from God by believing in the lies of these people, right? But I realized later that Louis Farrakhan is an evil man.
I wonder, because I do wonder what he would say. I wonder, what would you say if we fired back on you? So what about the evils that whites have done? Like, what would he say? I know he would dance around that question. But what about the evils? What about lynchings and the burnings of the towns, or the redlining, or the consistent attacks from police officers, or the rolling back on certain programs that specifically help the black community through what they've been through? Like, I wonder what he thinks of that. And you know what's funny? I just figured this out too. During the Trump administration, he rolled back on something for Asians too. So now, like, when Charlie Kirk used the argument that Asians get discriminated on just like white people do, now you can say Asians get discriminated on in another way. They roll back on programs that help Asian people out too. And I just thought that was interesting because I heard Charlie Kirk mention it once. But that's off topic. But yeah, I want to see what he means by evil.
Dirty man. And I understand why you people follow him, because you guys are in a fallen state too. God is not your God. Satan is your daddy. So naturally you would believe in Louis Farrakhan. Why is it that you're not a Christian?
In response,
you know, it's funny because he exposes a lot too. I like Jesse for that reason. The more he says out loud, this is what white people want to say. That's why they like him, right? But what's interesting, the more he says out loud, the more he shows for Christianity. Like he exposes Christianity to a degree with this shit too, because he exposes how judgmental they really are. Like it's like, damn, like, of all things, like, God is the ultimate judge, not us, you know. But like, they sit on these shows and be like, Louis Farrakhan is a dirty, evil man. You ain't supposed to think about him like that. You're supposed to think about him like a brother, whether you're white or black. You're supposed to think about him like a brother. You're supposed to. Same thing with him. He is not supposed to see. And I've heard him say white brothers. I've heard him say that before. He said our white brothers haven't understood fully what we've been subjected to, and it takes a while to get them to it. But I know the nation, not everybody in the Nation of Islam feels like Louis, though. Louis Farrakhan, I definitely think people should listen to him, dog.
In response to what you just said, on behalf of White History Month, I'm going to believe that you said that you believe in right and wrong. So I want you to call on those white folks that protested Minister Farrakhan, that called for his death. Do you know they were protesting, said, who do we want? The other side said Farrakhan. They said, how do we want him dead? I want you to call on white folks right now to denounce the fact that they called for the murder of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
I'm not aware that happened, but if it did happen,
producers, they can look it up.
If it did happen, was it wrong?
Absolutely. So please call on them.
So that was wrong.
Call on them.
So that was wrong.
Right now, on behalf of White History Month.
Okay, we got that part.
White folks.
So was that wrong for them to do that?
Absolutely.
And so likewise, was it wrong when that radical agitated group that's worse than the KKK, Black Lives Matter, a bunch of black lesbians and radical homosexuals and radical liberal white people.
She can't even deny she wanted to laugh for a second.
White guys or whatever they were. When they call for, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it now? Pigs in the blanket, fried like bacon. And right after that, the fallen Messiah and Big Mama Michelle invited them to the White House. Was that wrong?
He called her Big Mama. Wow. Anyways, but yeah, that's wrong.